10-foot buffer with the right grasses, the right lagoons, the right shrubbery can do everything that a 50-foot buffer. And let me tell you, it can do 3 times more than a 50-foot buffer of berry bushes, which is what this county is going to get if they're not careful. Because berry bushes are the worst thing I can have on my banks for any type of protection for water quality or salmon restoration. And when you tell somebody that you just got to leave it native and you don't have to take care of it, you're going to get berry bushes. You live in Oregon, that's what you're going to get. So it's important they recognize what's happening. The other thing is, and I did see recognition in their plan that you could take care of your noxious weeds. Well, that's not a simple thing when you're fighting berry bushes. And let me tell you, if you get Japanese knotweed, you'll never get it out of your system. You've got to be proactive. So having landscape riparian areas, in my opinion, may be much more beneficial to the salmon and to the water quality than if you just walked away from that and let it be overtaken by berry bushes and Japanese knotweed. So they need to be really, really careful. That's why I said objectives, not prescriptives, is a much better way for them to go. And it should be fairly easy if you could sit down with somebody and actually talk to them. That's how 10-10 plans work. When 10-10 plans are developed where we don't even go talk to somebody, the Department of Ag, unless there's a complaint. And at the point that there's a complaint that someone says, hey, look, this is not happening, we go out with the Soil and Water Conservation District, and we're not there to write them a ticket. We're simply there to provide them some tools to say, look, you've had a complaint, you're not meeting the objectives of our water quality plans, you need to figure out how to do it. Soil and Water Conservation District's here as your technical advisor. They're happy to help you write a plan. We will follow up to make sure you're at least attempting to do something. But we're not going to write you a ticket. It takes a long time. As long as you're showing that you're making due process or progress, that you're actually attempting and you're working with the Soil and Water Conservation District, ODA's off your back. They're not doing anything as long as you're making honest attempts. So that's a really important element of the plan, and that could be written into a rural residential plan. It's not hard. And you can still get to the objectives that, the Conservation District or the Commission, Land Use Commission, is going to adopt something like that. They're not going to throw it back in the county. I promise you they won't. Education works both ways. My recommendation is you sat through their workshops, you've heard what they want to do. You need to put together a coalition and ask them, both commissioners and the staff, to take you to a place and show me what you want me to do. And then take with you a couple of experts, Soil and Water Conservation District person, an extension person, there's a lot of people out there, and talk about, well, you don't have to do a buffer. Let's talk about, here's your regulation, and this is what you're saying to do, but what do you want to achieve? Because if this is what you want to achieve, look, these are all of the different ways I can actually achieve that. So a conversation has to come both ways. It sounds to me, what little bit I know, is there has not been a two-way conversation. There's been governmentese, but there has not been practicalities that back up the other way. And your commissioners are the way to get that done. They're their boss. So if you can't get the department to listen to you, it's time to start talking to your commissioners and having your commissioners say, at least asking their staff to come and have a practical talk on the ground. Let's look at these problems and let's figure out how to make a solution without making huge impacts to people's property rights. Thanks for pushing
No problem.
So there are tools too. The whole reason why watershed councils were set up is to do voluntary water quality and salmon restoration. Now, if your watershed council is not doing that, which some aren't very good at because they chase the money, quite frankly, and to do that you look for big projects. And often they're on government land or private owners. So they may have got their blinder, they may have forgotten what they're actually there to do. But they're there to get the general citizen involved in fish restoration and water quality. And if they're not doing that, if they're not doing public education, if they're not working with individual landowners, then my recommendation is you need to attend a few board meetings and you need to figure out how to take that watershed council over so that they're doing and functioning the way they should. And I've been president of Watershed Council, and the only reason why I've been president of Watershed Council is exactly that reason. They had no intentions of doing what we as citizens in that watershed wanted to do. They had a big project that they wanted a big grant, and they needed a watershed to get the big grant. Well, we stopped it. We said, wait, our watershed thinks the most important things are noxious weeds and soil conditions, and that's what we're going to focus on. Because we had an ability, they're voluntary organizations, and we had ability to recognize what was going on and to change how they were going to function. So I recommend, I don't know, I honestly don't know if you have good watershed councils down here or not. I have not been involved. I do know you have a great soil and water conservation district, and they are technical experts there for you. Now they are overwhelmed generally with agricultural folks, but I know they will not turn you down as a rural residential person if you walk in their office and say, I need help. I need advice. Can you please can you give me some tools? They may not get out to your property right away, but try to set up a meeting and see if they'll come and help you if you want. But they're trained to do that. And they also get money and they're funded to do it. Granted, they're funded to do it on agricultural land, but when they have time, they will get out to you as well. And then extension offices can be quite resourceful, and a lot of them have expertise there as well. So education is a key. What you're offering, what you're asking your commissioners is not something they're going to have to reinvent the wheel. The tools are out there. They just need to put it together. But they already have the tools sitting right here in this county without costing them any extra dollars. Go ahead. I found this interesting. The Senate Bill 100 is what the county is now relying on, or saying that it's land use planning that they're required to do this type of planning. And I just thought this was an interesting comment that I ran across in my reading. Although citizen involvement was to be encouraged and local control protected, both gave way to top-down, state-dominated decisions. Meanwhile, landowners faced with a myriad of land use regulations have found their rights been stripped away. Dale Johnson is now a consultant, but was the planning commissioner for Washington County. And that is truly what's happened. I've lived in a lot of states, and I have never seen in my lifetime as restrictive of a land use policy that actually doesn't ever get you to really what you want to get to in the first place. And I have a bunch of I'll be speaking about this a lot, but I find that we are now in the second generation and they don't even know that they've been stripped of property rights because of land use. They don't even know what a property right really was because we've been so inundated with what the statewide policy of land use is. We're trying to make headway. My organization, Oregonians in Action, little bites at a time, because obviously we're not going to overturn it after we've seen 37 overturned by 49. There's got to be another way to crack this nut, but it is frustrating. And it's frustrating now because you can't really have a conversation with the next generation because they don't know what's wrong with it. They never knew what it was like without it. They never knew that government didn't dictate what you could and couldn't do with your property. So I think that's important. Is it rights over righteousness? I think there was a time for righteousness, but now it's time for us to reestablish that people have property rights. That's what this country is founded upon. There was a need. I think we've done a wonderful job of successfully meeting those needs. But now we have to check where the righteousness is overstepping and where rights need to come in. And I think we're at that point right now. We really need to say, what regulations are we putting in? Are they truly making a good promise to all citizens, or is there a better way to do this without taking somebody's property rights? It's time to protect our property rights. It's been 40 years of an assault. Actually, more than that. Progressives have been in this process since 1920, but in the environmental end of progressiveness, it's been a strong 40 years for them, and we're trying to fight it back at this point. There are more effective ways to achieve common goals than just strictly impounding a person's property rights. We've shown that we can do this through market incentives, not government-forced incentives, but actual real market incentives, and accomplish a lot more without ever threatening somebody's property rights. And that's the right market, or the right triggers to show when something needs to be done. Great example. I recently wrote an article about Walmart's sustainability efforts. There isn't a government regulation that's requiring them to put sustainability mandates on the farmers that provide produce to them, but the fact is their consumers demanded it. That is a true market trigger. Whether you agree with their sustainability measures or not, the fact is they read their market and that got to change. They didn't wait for the government to tell them you need to change it. That's what market triggers really should function like. And then I am going to leave, if I can get this to work, this will be interesting. This is a summary of my role for your project. Alright, we'll stop. Anyway, it's a great anti-antithesis to the other video that I showed you. So, I am more than happy to answer questions. I figure that I might be more productive answering your guys' questions that you may have, but I think you're definitely on the right path. Sorry I don't have more significant, but I knew you had a meeting yesterday, last night with some changes, but it looks like you've been successful in getting a few changes. And I'm more than happy to help you in any ways that I know that I can, and more than happy to answer questions for you guys.
Just a quick comment. The slide where you were talking about parts per thousand, parts per million.
Yes.
You got ML after that?
Did I have?
No, I don't think that's.
No, it's wrong.
That should come out. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. As I was typing away.
Before someone nails you at it.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm like, oh, did I really do that?
Were you aware that Walmart has already issued a mandate to remove all organics from their stores?
To remove them?
They said that the cost and the necessity for the need is too small.
So I am aware that Walmart has pulled back on a market strategy that they did, which is to be kind of the target, the middle of the road consumer, and they've decided that they are better catered to the low end consumer, and I would guess that may be.
No, they said there was too many problems, and the market was not large enough. The problems being bugs, slugs, all kinds of filthy stuff coming all in the name of nature. It's natural and all this garbage, and the cost was too high.
And I think that's a perfect market trigger. That's what they should be mandated to carry. If it's not working for them or their consumer, then if those that want organic need to go somewhere else to get their stuff, I guess. I mean, to me, that's what you look like. You don't say the government mandates I give 20% of my shelf to organics. And essentially, that's what they're doing with environmental regulations. They're kind of mandating rather than letting what the market says. Now, there are reasons for regulations. I'm not going to ever argue with you that there isn't a need that we can just have anarchy and walk away from all regulations. But there is an extent to recognizing and saying, we've actually addressed our issue. Why do we continue to ratchet down and keep building the kingdom when the original issue that we were out to address has been addressed? And there is a lever of economics that we need to start looking at, or a different way in which we look at when a problem is truly a problem.
Well, when you were talking about the possibility of having a 10-foot buffer zone, I guess that would be above flood level.
No, you can have a 10-foot in the floodplain because everybody's topography is quite different. But literally, I mean, if you're at, I would say 10 foot above high water mark, average high water mark.
That's what I meant.
But yeah, that would be where traditionally your water table fluctuates 10 foot at that traditional yearly, market flood. You can get and capture all the plumes you need to in 10 feet. You can.
And what would you use to do it with?
Oh, the specific grasses. I think there's a lot of different types of grasses there's all kinds of different tools. I used to be able to name all the time. I couldn't tell you now. I just did it to you. But there's a lot of different grasses that will definitely do that. So.
Was that filtered area supposed to be underwater? Not at all.
It doesn't have to be, no. You can design all different ways. So what you're thinking of,
What are you trying to filter?
if I did rural residential, this is what I'm guessing that they're probably doing, is that you've got fertilizers coming off your lawn. And they want to capture the fertilizers before they get into the stream. That would be my first guess, or pesticide. So that 10 foot that you're not going to spray, that you're going to let go natural, however, you capture that fertilizer that's right up against your lawn, that now when you water your lawn and traditionally it flows into the creek, you can actually filter it before it gets there.
How does it actually work? You get the grasses in, or what does it do? What the grasses sort of stuff?
Yeah, so depending on the root pattern and how what you're looking at doing is, you look at a tight root pattern, a deep penetrating root pattern. Soils depends on it, what's best for those filtration strips. But the best example, like, you would be amazed. They're in San Diego. They actually don't even have. They have replaced a waste sewer treatment. I mean, this is actual sewage.
Okay, but we're saying the plants absorb that stuff.
They take it up as nutrients.
Okay, that was.
They take it. The roots take it. The broadleaves take it. Depending on what plants you take it, they actually suck it up and keep it. And then natural, just dirt, will actually get caught in the leaves of the plants, and that captures sediments as well. So you're not only capturing nutrients or herbicides, pesticides, whatever, but you're actually catching sediment depending on your volume of plants. So, it's a scientific thing, but it's amazing what plants can uptake. And what I was going to tell you is, like in San Diego, they've actually eliminated an entire waste treatment facility, and it's now a treatment facility that looks like a wetland. This has been designed in stages where the waste goes into this section, and these plants first get the first nutrient, and then the water is flushed on to another segment, and they take this different series of plants, take that other nutrient, and they flush it to a third, and by the time it gets through that third stage, that water is pristine when they release it. So plants are amazing things that you can do with them. But the worst thing in the world is to say it's a no-touch buffer and you've got berry bushes everywhere. Berry bushes have no understory. They have no ability to catch nutrients, no ability to catch sediments. They're essentially nothing for you.
No, I read something where they told us that we could take out the black berry, but we couldn't take out stuff. Now, there was something that was brought up in conversation about not even being able to remove nettles and stuff from your property.
How do you get in there with that? And I'm going to take this one, and I'm not going to take this one.
Because they said that, when we first moved there, we just had nettle patches. My favorite, my oldest son was in the third grade, fell into one of these huge nettle things, came out all and it wasn't funny, but oh my gosh, he was just in misery. So what was the next thing I did the next day?
Yeah, exactly.
I put my boots on, my rubber gloves on, I went down and I pulled the dang things out, and then when I could, I asked what we could put on to get rid of them.
Yeah. And quite frankly, I know that there's issues, at least, I don't know in this area, but I know I dealt with issues in Tillamook that was pretty frustrating because they were septic systems. That is, for rural residential, that's probably our biggest contributor to water quality, is failing septic systems. Buffers aren't going to do anything for failing septic systems. So, there are steps that will increase water quality. Like I said, if you look at your money and you leverage the effect of what you wanted for a regulation, regulating and changing out failing rural septic systems will get you much greater gain for the dollar than any restrictive buffer zone is going to get you. So they need to start doing cost-benefit analysis and figure out, okay, what are we trying to do, and where is our best impact for the limited amount of money that we have? Because why are we putting the burden on our citizens that own the property if it's something that is a goal for us? And in fact, I would guess on most of your subsidiary creeks, a lot of them are not listed. What they're essentially trying to do is to clean up the upper Willamette. I can guarantee you their goal is that's what they're trying to do. So they're trying to do it through tributaries, where a lot of your tributaries are probably in pretty good condition, but they're still going to put them on there in the hopes that the cumulative effect down in Willamette will help somehow. But they're not really sure. So again, cost-benefit analysis. You know, if you're going to do that, don't just put a sweeping regulation on. Let's figure out, is there a tributary that truly is accentuating the Upper Willamette issue? And if there's not, it's an Upper Willamette issue. Take care of it. Put the money where the problem is. But from what I can see, they haven't done any of that analysis, and the information's out there. They can do a lot of it.
Yeah, they're saying it's water temperature.
Okay, so there's a whole nother aspect of water temperature, as you have more than known. So water temperature is volume, water temperature is how fast it's traveling, water temperature is sinuosity, which is how much the creek bends, which slows it down and makes it warm quicker. So buffers don't get you there, and planting trees don't get you there. There are other ways, and sometimes there are not other ways to address temperature, quite frankly. You just may have a background that in that segment of the river it's not practical. So, but again, this is very difficult for government to do site specific. It's costly. It's much quicker and much easier to say, you know, we just put a buffer. We told everybody we want 3 trees per 50 feet of linear banked stream bank, and that's our goal. Because they can measure that pretty quick, doesn't take very long to go, and they can say, we made it, without doing, you know, 10 years from now, what will happen to temperature as it falls? They'll find another excuse. So temperature is a really difficult issue, and it's EPA problem because it's obviously a water quality